Okay, I think we're ready. Welcome, everyone. This is Mindy Ruley. I'm the Philanthropic Services and Programs Director with the Community Foundation of South Puget Sound. Also with me here is Melissa Roscoe.
I am the Programs and Communications Assistant.
And many of you haven't met Melissa. Melissa is new to the Community Foundation this year and really involved with Give Local. But I want to say welcome to Give Local 2019. Thank you for participating. This is our third year hosting Give Local. The reason that we do that is the Community Foundation's mission is to inspire philanthropy in our communities. And so we have decided to take on hosting Give Local to raise awareness and money for nonprofits and inspire a culture of giving in our community. Most of you have participated in Give Local before, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this call explaining what it is. I think that the frequently asked questions and some of the communications you've already received from us explain the basics of Give Local. We're happy to answer questions afterwards, both Melissa and I, if you have them. A couple of things, but the basics is you build a campaign for your organization and promote it, and the Community Foundation promotes the entire platform across the community. This year we're going to have about 90 nonprofits participate in Give Local. Like the last 2 years, we raise sponsorship dollars so that all of the credit card fees are covered when a donor makes a gift. So 100% of the donation goes to your organization. Like last year, there will also be a bonus fund, a $100,000 bonus fund from the Dawkins Charitable Trust, and that'll be a proportional match. So if your organization raises 5% of everything raised during Give Local, you'll get 5% of the bonus funds, capped at $7,500 per organization. So mostly I want to say thanks for being here. Thanks for partnering with us on this exciting program. We have a brand new relationship with Community Funded and Alex here. It's a new giving platform, and we hope that this will be a easier experience for donors and nonprofits, and we're really excited for you to check out this new platform and hope that it helps everyone's campaigns be even more successful this year. So I think with that, I'm going to mostly hand it over to Alex to kind of walk you through how to use this new platform. Before that, just a quick overview of the timeline for Give Local this year. So we'll ask you to kind of finalize your campaigns in the platform by October 15th. You'll still be able to edit them after that, but we'll ask everyone to have their campaigns updated and submitted by then so that we can do some review and testing before we go live. We'll do one small change from last year. For those of you who participated last year, we'll do a week of early giving and 2 weeks of Give Local. So really it's still the 3 weeks, your campaign will be up for the full 3 weeks, but we're not doing as heavy of promotion that first week, and we'll do heavier promotion those second 2 weeks. So early giving is October 29th to November 5th, and then sort of the official Give Local dates are November 6th to November 21st. We'll do a thank you celebration again on that last day on November 21st, and then we'll do all the reconciliation and calculating of the bonus funds and get all Give Local funds out to you in the mail by December 31st at the latest. So now, with that, as a quick overview, I'm going to hand it over to Alex to kick off the platform training.
Sounds great. Thank you, Mindy. Thanks for the overview. Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Stern, and I'm with Community Funded here. I am really excited to be walking through platform training with you today. We're going to walk through step-by-step everything that you'll need to do to get your campaign up and running, as well as I'll be pointing out all the different features you can take advantage of with the Community Funded platform. For a little context, Community Funded is a fundraising technology that hosts giving events like this for other community foundations, for individual nonprofits, for higher education institutions, as well as healthcare. And so we're in the business of giving you the tools to best communicate and tell the story to your audience about what your cause affects, why it's important to support your cause, and giving them a really easy, fun way to support what you're doing there. So to look at today's schedule, we just walked through an introduction and the timeline of Give Local. The rest of the time here will be walking through the step-by-step. So we'll start with accessing your campaign, accessing the platform, give you some orientation to the platform overall, and then the bulk of this will be walking through editing your campaign, all the pieces you need to put in place within the platform. Then we'll touch on the process to submit your campaign for review so that the Community Foundation team can review your campaign and make it live as a part of Give Local. We'll wrap up by pointing out a few other tools and uses of the platform, and then cover next steps. As we go through, I will be pausing, giving space for questions, and also holding plenty of time at the end for questions. You're welcome to shout out a question in one of two ways. You can either unmute yourself and verbally share your question. Otherwise, you're welcome to drop questions into the chat box, and I'll be glad to look at those periodically. So without further ado, let's dive in. And to start here, actually wanted to give you some context of the whole Give Local event and how your campaign is going to fit into it. So here's the main landing page for Give Local. I'll say, since we're a couple months out, still a work in progress. The Community Foundation team is still putting things together. But for the most part, this will be the landing page. It features a countdown of how much time is left in Give Local, as well as an aggregator of all of the supporters and dollars that are being raised for each of your nonprofits, or the total of everything that's being raised. Down the page, after this introductory section, will be a listing of all of your different nonprofits, each with your own campaign card. Just one here for now, my test one, but when Give Local's here, donors will be able to come to spsgives.org to search on or choose a category to find your nonprofit. You'll also have your own URL for your individual campaign that you can share directly with your audience. I'm going to quick pause and take a look at the chat to see if there's any questions. Let's see. Thank you, Scott, for helping out Barb. Please let me know if you still aren't able to hear through the phone number, but indeed calling in through that phone number, inputting your access code and your, I believe it's the dial, there's an additional code that you'll put in that should allow you to hear what's going on. That said, we are recording today's training, so it'll be shared with you afterwards, as well as this presentation, so you can refer back to that.
Alex, do you want to talk about how you want to take questions?
Yes. Again, as spots throughout the presentation, I'll pause and ask if there are questions. I'll look one of two ways to send a question. When I pause, unmute yourself and let me know if you have a question. Otherwise, throughout, drop your questions in the chat box, and I'll periodically take a look at those. And Mindy and Melissa, if you could help me watch the chat, please give a shout if there's questions I should tackle before a stopping period.
Okay.
Perfect. Barb, glad you can hear now. And here's some context for what an individual campaign, your nonprofit's page, will look like. Your nonprofit's organization name will be at the top as the title. You have an image you can use, or you can feature at the top. You can also put a video to watch at the top here, in which a play button would overlay on your banner image. Then there's counting of how much support has been raised. So your total dollars raised, as well as number of supporters, will be featured. And if you choose to show a goal, that will be shown as well. In this case, a 10-person supporter goal. And there is a progress bar showing your progress towards whatever goal that you have. Donors can hit the Donate Now button here. But aside from that, there is space for you to tell a descriptive story about what it means to support your cause and why it's important. There's this summary piece here, as well as a description section that can be as long or brief as you'd like, but we'd suggest 1 to 3 paragraphs of context about what donor support does to help people in need. And you can add text and images down there. And there was a question about goals. You can set a goal, either a number of supporters goal or a number of dollars goal. It can be one or the other. All right, so first things first, accessing your campaign. You may have, it'll start by getting an email from info@communityfunded.com. You may have already gotten this. If not, you'll get it soon. Mindy and Melissa are hitting approve on all of the submissions that you submitted through that registration form. So look for an info@communityfunded.com email. It'll say your idea has been approved and give you a button to get started. Your email will also feature a temporary password to access the platform. And so that button will lead you to the sign-in page. Go ahead and bookmark this because you'll be returning to it to log into the community-funded platform to edit your campaign. And so there's the URL for the login, and that button will take you there. Your username will be the email address that you used at the time of registration. And again, you'll be given a temporary password in your approval email. Once you sign in that first time, you'll be prompted to reset your password. So go ahead and reset your password, and then you are free to go ahead and edit your campaign. So a little, well, I'll pause there. Any questions thus far? Alrighty, well, moving through, I imagine the bulk of questions might come in at the time of editing the campaign. But for a little navigation, every time you log into the campaign, after that initial time that you reset the password, you'll land on your dashboard. And take note of these tabs to the left here. You'll navigate through here and primarily work in the campaigns tab. But first and foremost, you land on the dashboard when your campaign is submitted for review and then made live during Give Local. You'll be able to see some analytics of how much activity has been going on recently with your campaign. At the top left are notifications, product updates, and some help and training. Feel free to peruse through there, but know that it's nothing you need to pay attention to. You might see a product update pop in from time to time if we've made enhancements to the platform, but again, nothing you need to pay attention to. Down in the personal section, there's all these different features where you can go ahead and put in information about yourself and your organization. This profile information would be saved for future Give Locals. Not something you need to spend time on. However, one thing you must do in this section, the only thing you must do in this section, is go to the My Profile and add a profile image. For the sake of this test, note that this is the profile image I'm using for my test campaign we're walking through, so you'll see where this profile image comes into play as we go through. I'm going to pause here and talk about questions outside of the platform training. As you're going through campaign editing or in lead up to Give Local, for the most part, you should go to Melissa at the Community Foundation for any questions. That includes platform-related questions. How do I add my image? How do I submit this for review? Go ahead and reach out to Melissa, and they will be able to help you with those questions. However, the community-funded team is absolutely here if there are pressing, urgent issues related to the site essentially not working. Not something you should expect, but if for whatever reason you're hitting a wall with the site not loading for you, or you're hearing from donors that donations might not be going through. Again, not something that should occur, but in the off chance it might, go ahead and reach out directly to the community funded team. I'd encourage you to also copy Melissa so she's aware, but our technical support team will jump on it right away. And there's 2 ways to reach out to our team if there are those urgent site issues. First off, there's the help desk at communityfunded.com email. And there's also a help button right within the platform. And you'll see that at the bottom right. So again, if you're hitting an urgent issue, go ahead and reach out to us and we'll be glad to help you with that. The last section that I want to call out, and the section that you're going to be spending the most time in, is the campaign section. So we'll circle back to editing your campaigns, but I'll pause here if there's any questions. I see there's one in the chat. Oh, thank you for that. All right, no questions for right now. I'm going to go ahead and keep moving, but by all means, chat your questions if you have them. But here we're going to talk about editing and managing your campaign after it's live. So you'll start in the campaign section here, and you'll have 1 row for your campaign in the draft/pending admin approval section. And your campaign will be in a draft status to start. Some information that you submitted during registration will appear there and will appear in the campaign editor as you get to that. So start by editing your campaign by hitting the Tools button and then Edit Campaign. This brings you to the editing panel here. This is one of a few tabs available for your campaign. The Edit Campaign tab is the one you'll spend the most time in. You'll also want to take a look at Tools, as well as Communications if you choose to use the platform for emails or making updates on your campaign. Some orientation for this editor piece. There's 8 tabs here on the left side. You'll want to take a look at each of them, but note that those with a red asterisk are required. So right now we're in the Personal Info tab, and so I have several fields that I need to fill out for my personal information. And I must fill out all those fields in order to satisfy the red asterisk requirement. And so here I've put in some information, and I've left it generic here so you can see where this lines up when we look at a real preview. As you fill in fields, hit the Save Progress button. Beware that if you fill out some information here and then jump over to the next section, it won't save. So the Save Progress button is definitely going to be your friend here. And note that a few fields have an information button to give you a little more context on what that field is for and what to put there. All right, so in this example, I just hit Save Progress. It let me know that it's been updated. And I've also gotten a green check mark here for the tab, meaning that I've satisfied all the requirements for it. Again, the goal is to get a green check mark next to every red asterisk. All right, moving on through the different sections. Here's the description section. First off, you have your campaign title. That'll be the name of your nonprofit organization. Next, the campaign summary. This appears near the top of your campaign, right under the image. This is meant for 1 or 2 sentences to give a quick introduction as to what your campaign is about, what you're fundraising for, and how it's going to make a difference. And then you have this full description section that fills out the bottom of your campaign page. Here you should, with text and visuals, paint a picture for your donors or potential donors about what the issue is that your nonprofit is trying to solve for and how donor help makes that possible. So be descriptive, use visuals, and use this space to really pull on the heartstrings of your donors and give them explanation of how their support really will make a difference. We definitely advise explicitly calling out that they should give to the campaign, and you might even suggest giving at certain levels that align with certain precise impacts that can be made at different dollar levels. And also encourage folks to share their campaign to help you spread the word about your cause, to get more people aware of it and more people supporting with donations. Next, the goals and timeline section. Here's where you can choose if you're going to have a dollar goal or a donor goal. In this case, it's set to dollars, and so you can input that goal here. Below is the duration section. You don't need to worry about that at all. It's going to be locked down, and the Community Foundation team will be taking care of ensuring that your campaign is live during the Give Local time. So all you need to do here is set your goal, either dollars or donors. I'll pause here as I've gotten a couple of questions. Someone's asking if the campaign title is indeed the nonprofit name rather than the name of the campaign. Yes, the campaign title should be the nonprofit. It'll allow continuity for every nonprofit to have the same sort of title at the top of their page. And then donors, when they get to the main Give Local page, can find their favorite nonprofit by searching by name or finding your name there. Someone asked if the goal can be modified throughout the campaign. And indeed, the goal, as well as all of these editor components, can be modified throughout the campaign. We want you to get to a point where you have your final campaign in place, and then you'll submit that for the Community Foundation team to review. But if you want to expand on your description or up your goal, if you hit the goal at a certain point, you can absolutely do that. You just follow the same process of getting to this campaign editor and updating those things. Moving on through to the banner image. This is the image at the top of your campaign. You'll note that there is a size requirement. It must be at least 960 pixels by 400. It can be larger and you can crop it down. And so here's my image. Go ahead and crop that. And that'll exist at the top of your campaign page, as well as be the image featured on the main Give Local page. This image will be featured next to your nonprofit's name. Next, this is an optional component, and that is a video. The platform can host a YouTube or Vimeo, video link. So just drop that in here if you'd like to feature a video to, again, help paint the picture of what supporting your nonprofit through Give Local does. The last required section here is the categories and tags section. So a few things you'll want to fill out here. First, add at least one tag. These are keywords that donors can search on within the search bar on the main Give Local page. So go ahead and use whatever you'd like there, whatever you think your donors might be searching for. That'll help them find you. But you need at least one tag. Then set your custom category. This should be the same category that you submitted with your registration. So go ahead and find your category. Donors will be able to search on these categories on the main page to help find your nonprofit that fits into those categories. Lastly, you'll need to select a community-funded category. These will actually not be featured anywhere. Because you're using custom categories, those will be featured instead. However, you still need to select a community-funded category. It can be entirely arbitrary. Otherwise, you're welcome to sort through and find the category that feels right for you. But this is the important one to get right. Another optional tool here is the rewards feature. Here's a look at a campaign page. Rewards is a way to call out specific gift levels that align with specific impacts. In this case, if a donor is to give $250, that funds an American Sign Language interpreter for a library program, or $750 funds all the course reserves for this engineering course. Donors can choose that specific gift level and add it to their cart. And so you can build those as many as you'd like in the back end if you choose to feature gift levels that way. Last section here is the submitted information. This is all the information you submitted at time of registration. Nothing you need to do with this, but it's there for reference. And you'll note that some of this information is already populated into different sections of your campaign editor. One other feature that is found in the campaign tools section, so not the edit campaign tab, but to the right, the campaign tools, is campaign heroes. This is a way to call out VIP supporters, most valued supporters, or supporters that give at a certain level, to call them out as heroes of your campaign. So they'll appear at the top right. Two different ways you can get their names up there. One is you can set a minimum donation amount, whereas they'll automatically be featured as at a campaign hero if they give at this amount or above. In this example, $500 or above. You can also manually add heroes' names. If you have superstar volunteers or supporters or a major donor that might not give their gift through the campaign page itself, you can call them out here. As you go through the editor, you'll notice that there's a preview button. You can hit that preview button at any time to see the content you're putting in its in its full layout here. So you can see your image, you can see your summary, the title, all that sort of things. Note that the preview is going to show your campaign with the community-funded branding. So you'll have community-funded header up here, as well as the community-funded green. When your campaign is live, it's going to reflect the Give Local branding. So here's my live campaign that has Give Local colors and the Give Local header. Okay, so that's the everything you need to do to get your campaign edited and filled out. So now we'll talk about the review and launch process. I see we have a question here. There was a question of, can we change the name of heroes to something else? I'm afraid you cannot. Heroes, campaign rewards, essentially all the other text or display names of things that aren't a field that you can fill in, that we just walked through, are going to be locked in as they are.
Alex, we had one other question about, can you go over real quickly again how to access the heroes section? Yes,
and I'm going to go way back. Oh, here we go. So this is the Campaign Heroes tab, which you find by going from the Edit Campaign tab over to Tools. So hit that Tools button, and Tools is the tab right above here that I just happened to cut out. All right, so once you've gotten the green check mark next to every red asterisk, you will see this Ready to Submit orange button pop up. So that means you're in the clear. Everything that needs to be there is there. The idea is that you have your campaign in its final state of what it's going to be at the time of the start of Give Local, and then you hit the Ready to Submit to send it over to the Community Foundation team to review what you have and then make it live and put it on the final Give Local site. So when you get there, hit Ready to Submit, and then you'll hit Submit for Review. That will, again, notify the Community Foundation team to review it. They'll spend some time doing that, and then a few days ahead of Give Local early giving period, they are going to make these live and launched. And so you're going to get two different emails. One, you'll get an email when they have reviewed your campaign and all looks good. If there's any questions they have for you or something looks off, they'll go ahead and reach out to you and work with you to edit the campaign appropriately. So you'll get a notification once your campaign is approved. You'll get another notification email when your campaign is launched or formally live and fundable on the Give Local site. And again, that'll be happening a few days before the early giving period. At that point, when you get the campaign is launched email, donors can start giving at any time. But the idea is that there'll be a focused early giving push for some initial seeding of your campaigns before Give Local becomes totally live to the public. When you have an approved campaign, it will show up in this section as approved for launch. Once it is launched, it'll be in the active section. You have access to this tools section where you can go ahead and edit things, add campaign heroes, etc. At any time while it's active or live. And here's just another view of your live campaign. All right, I'll pause here for questions before we move on to the next section. All right, sounds like we're feeling good out there. So in this section, we'll talk through the different ways that you'll send out your campaign through communications, as well as communication tools within the platform itself that you might want to take advantage of. Bill had a question about the early giving period, and I suggest we circle back to that at the bottom, at the end of the call here, to talk about what that looks like. All right, so moving back into campaign communications. First off, here are all the different ways that you can share your campaign out with the world. First off, there's the main Give Local page, which is going to be sbsgives.org. For the time being, during our setup here, the URL is givelocal.communityfunded.net, but that will all be replaced with sbsgives.org, and that can be the main Give Local landing page that you send people to. That said, you'll want to actually send people directly to your own campaign page, and your campaign will have a unique link. In the end, it'll be sbsgives.org plus some unique identifiers for your campaign. So you have this URL to share out in the world. This should be on emails, on social media posts, etc. Then two other tools that are that you as nonprofit administrators can utilize, as well as advocates of your nonprofit can use, are the Share This Campaign tool and the Champion tool. First off, the Share the Campaign tool. This will appear on your campaign page. There is a short link that you or supporters of your campaign can share out in the world. And so we're thinking about people who are going to help you promote your campaign. This short URL will get you to the same old long URL that you can share. Here you can also hit the share button, and it will give you options of all the different social media platforms. For example, you can click the Facebook button, and it's going to automatically create a post that includes your campaign image, the campaign summary, and a direct link back to your campaign. So something your nonprofit can use, also something that you'll want to direct your supporters to. For example, in your description, you'll want to say, help us share this campaign, share through your favorite social media above. One other tool for your advocates or staff of your nonprofit that want to go the extra mile to help support the spreading of the word of your campaign is the Champion tool. We'll circle back around to this later in the call, but this will be featured as an option for people to sign up to be a champion of your campaign. And so that was ways to share your campaign out with the world. Here are a few communications that exist within the campaign. First off, you can post updates. Everything you've been seeing on a campaign page is on the Home tab. To talk about the two other tabs quick, I'll start with Community. The Community tab is going to highlight a map of where all your donors are living. It's not their exact address, but it'll drop a little pin at the center of the zip code for all the zip codes that are represented. And so the whole Puget Sound area will be filled up, or beyond, will be filled up with pins of your supporters, as well as a listing of their names. They choose to be anonymous, they'll appear as anonymous, and so their name wouldn't be reflected. Otherwise, all donor names would be listed in this community section. The Updates tab is a place where you can post updates about what's going on with your campaign during Give Local, and also a place to say thank you and give additional calls to action. It's something that a donor can find when they get to your page. They'll see, oh, there's a number of updates here. And they can go check out how things have been going. So you might say, hey, we're halfway to our goal. Thanks to everyone who got us here. Later on, you might say, there's only 2 days left. Be sure to make your gift today and help us share this campaign with other people. So that is essentially a blog post that you can put on the campaign. Each of these blog posts can also be sent as an email from the campaign. You can put in your own list of subscribers into the community-funded platform and email out to people. And so you'll build this in the My Community tab, and you'll add your list of supporters. Note that your list should not be longer than 250 people. If it's longer than 250 people, you'll want to split that up into a couple of lists because the platform will only support so many emails going out at one time. So keep those lists at 250 or less. To build out your communications, either an update or an email or both, go to the Campaigns tab, and then instead of Edit Campaign, go to Communications. And you'll be given a spot where you can create your new communication. You can add text and images, and then you decide, is this an update on the campaign page? Is this an email to a certain list that I imported? Or is this both? Again, something you can utilize, but you likely have your own email systems as well, and so won't need to leverage the community-funded email system. But I do suggest adding updates so that as donors visit the page, they see that you as the nonprofit are engaged with letting people know about your progress, and yeah, you can give them calls to action there to keep them excited. All right, pausing here for questions if anyone has any. I see a question, are the donor emails shared or accessed outside of our organization's communications? Your nonprofit can import lists into the backend, and you are the only ones who can see that information. And so none of the other nonprofits, nor even the community foundation, will see those donor emails that you're importing. Any other questions about sharing your campaign out with the world?
Alex, this is Mindy. Those links that you showed us for how to access your campaign and share it, are those available immediately or only available when the campaigns are published?
Oh, that's a good question. Only available when the campaigns are published. That said, well, I'll give a little context to each of these. So spsgives.org, we'll have that set up maybe in the next few weeks or so. And in the meantime, everyone can go to givelocal.communityfunded.net to see the countdown page for Give Local. This final sbsgives.org/unique identifier will not be available until the campaign is live. However, if you want to get your communications in line before your campaign's live, this short URL is available immediately. And so, for example, if you're queuing up an email for a couple months from now when Give Local is happening and you want to have the link for your campaign in there already, preview your campaign while you're editing it and grab this short URL. And until your campaign's live, that short URL isn't going to go anywhere. But as soon as your campaign's live, this short URL will redirect people to your final campaign URL. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Alrighty, we've got about 20 minutes left and just one little section to go still, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions. This is the champion tool within the platform. So it's the idea of empowering your advocates to help you spread the word. It's something that they can do with that share tool. They can go ahead and share directly to Facebook. However, and ask people in their world to come learn about your nonprofit and support it. The Champions tool allows them to go further, though. And it features this component here where, for example, I, as an individual champion, direct people to the campaign that I'm supporting with a unique link for me as a champion. And so I would share my link with friends, with people in my world, and they use my link to come back to the nonprofit I'm supporting, their page, but it'll feature my personal appeal up here. So you'll see there's a personal message from me, Alex Stern, saying, please join me in supporting this important cause. Champions can use this space to say whatever they want about why they support your nonprofit and why it's important for others to support it. And then they can also set personal goals if they choose. These would be totally separate of your nonprofit's goals, but perhaps they want to set a personal goal of getting 10 givers to give to your page, or maybe a certain amount of money. They can choose one or the other, or none at all. But know that in general, this is a very inspiring call to action. Getting your advocates to share your direct campaign link is one thing. Getting them to share with this champion tool is really inspiring for the people that are receiving it, to see the face of the person they know, asking them to support it. And that potential donor can also help that person they know get to their personal goals, as well as get your nonprofit to your overall goal. So a little context on becoming a champion. You'll note I pointed at the champion module on the right side of your completed campaign, live campaign. This will be available once your campaign is live. And so if you have champions in mind, start rallying them as soon as possible. And in our best practices presentation coming up next week and the week after, we'll be touching on building a social champion group. But start rallying them, and then know that once your campaign is live, you'll direct them to this module to have them sign up to be a champion. When they sign up, they'll get an email that will start the process of setting up their profile. So they'll get that email, hit the Let's Do This button, and then a few quick things they need to set up. They'll add their profile image. They'll set their personal appeal, so why they support your nonprofit and why it's important for others too. And then they can choose to set their goals. They can come back and edit these things after the fact, except for the profile image that must be set up with their initial profile setup. And then champions will have access to their own champion dashboard. At the time of the profile setup, they'll land on their champion dashboard, and this is a page they can come back to see how they're doing as a champion, see how many people they've inspired to give. And as far as tracking that and what the champion should really be doing once they set all this up, they're going to share their personal champion link, which is available in this setup process. This is a link different from this one, different from your campaign link. It's something like cf.com/ a bunch of unique identifier numbers. They'll share this short link in their own Facebook posts, in their own emails. They might text this link to people they know, and then it'll direct people back to the campaign, plus their face and personal appeal at the top. And that personal champion link will also track the amount of support that they brought in. I'll pause here if there's questions on champions, and I see there's a couple of questions in chat. Does community funded store or share the donor emails? No. Again, only you, the nonprofit who imports those lists, have access to that information. So community funded cannot even see it. So we aren't storing it or sharing your donor information at all. That said, the information, And so the question was in the context of donor email. So again, we don't store the emails that you import. That said, our database will store the information that donors input at checkout, not their billing information, but their donor information like first name, last name, email address, phone number, and any additional custom checkout questions that you can check out when your campaign is live. This is not the billing information, but this is the information that the Community Foundation needs to process these donations.
And just to add to that, Alex, yeah, so we will use email addresses just for giving each donor a receipt, and that's it unless they opt in to receiving other communication.
And for what it's worth, Community Funded does store that information so that the Community Foundation has access to it, but by no means are we sharing this information with anyone. We are not even looking at it at all. It's just available to the Community Foundation. So one other note before we start to wrap up here, the platform can display offline donations. And so anything transacted through the platform itself will obviously live update on the campaign. If I give, then after my transaction is complete, the number of supporters will tick up and the number of dollars for your campaign will tick up immediately. But say someone gives a donation by check or calls you during Give Local to make a gift online, if there are transactions you have that you want to be reflected on your Give Local campaign page, send those to the Community Foundation. Those donations need to be processed through the Community Foundation to be featured as a part of Give Local, but send that information, send the donations to Melissa at the Community Foundation, and they will process those and get them reflected on your campaigns. Any questions about that process?
I just want to add to that process. I know that for the past couple, this is the reason that the Community Foundation, I know that some of your donors prefer to give via check and not online. And the reason that we ask that those donations go through the Community Foundation to count for Give Local is just to have a more, a fairer accounting for the bonus funds. That's the reason we do that. I know that can be a little bit more work during Give Local, but that's the way that we've set that up. So if you want the gift to count for Give Local and your bonus funds, it does have to go through the Community Foundation, and we're happy to work with you to make that work with your donors. Last year, we had a few donors or nonprofits drop off checks, and we got those processed right away. So just ask Melissa or me if you have any questions about that. The goal of the project, though, is to encourage online giving for the most part.
Thanks, Wendy. So we'll have 10 minutes for questions at the end here again, but for sake of wrapping up, that is the information that you need to go ahead and edit your campaign and submit it for review. I have let's see. The recording of today will be shared with you as well as the presentation deck. If you have questions, go ahead and reach out to Melissa and they'll be able to help you. And as soon as you get that approval email, you can dive in and start editing. An important note here is that you should have your final campaign ready to submit for review and have gone through that process of submitting it by October 15th. So that leaves us with space for questions. I have two that we can come back to right away. One, I believe, was from Bill. He was asking what sort of people should be champions for your nonprofit. And first off, I'll say that this is something that we're going to dive into more deeply at next week's best practices training presentations. These are additional trainings available, and I'll leave this up at the end. But next Thursday, as well as the following Wednesday, we'll be diving into communication best practices, part of that is champions. But a short answer for now, board members, volunteers, staff at your nonprofit, previous donors, very frequent donors, as well as really just anyone who is who might be able to help you promote your nonprofit should be champions. So anyone who's willing to take this extra step to help you promote, it's a really effective tool to inspire people to give. It's a really effective relationship builder with your closest advocates, to really give them another tool to help you. Then there was another question about early giving, and I believe Mindy dropped in the chat when the early giving period is taking place. But for a little context, starting November 6th through the 21st is the official Give Local period. We're opening up an early giving period. Mindy, you can tell me the exact dates. I'm blanking on it right now. But the idea is that during this early giving period, you're extending the invitation to a smaller group of donors, not your entire audience, but a smaller group of donors. For example, your board members, your staff, your closest supporters in general. Give them a chance to be a part of this VIP early giving period to help you seed your campaign, so that when Give Local starts, there's already a massive support there. Generally, well, not generally, research has shown that having being 30% of the way towards your goal picks up the momentum by, oh gosh, I'm blanking on the amount, but essentially picks up the momentum for other people diving in. Having any sort of support on day one of Give Local, being November 6th, will really inspire people to give because they see that there's already a lot of support here for this campaign. And so that social proof will inspire them to give.
And Alex, can I just add that one of the reasons that we structured Give Local this year with a week of early giving and 2 weeks of regular Give Local is because we're not adding the Community Foundation's grants into Give Local. We're keeping our grant process totally separate. For those of you who participated last year, some people received a grant from us in their Give Local campaign and some people didn't, and we got feedback that was confusing, and so this year the Community Foundation is not adding our grants into Give Local campaigns, so this week of early giving kind of gives all of us a week to build, like Alex said, build momentum for our campaigns.
Two other questions in the chat. One is someone noticed that they haven't gotten their email saying that their idea is approved. That might be, some folks have gotten it, others will soon get it. I know Mindy and Melissa were working on it that week, and it looks like they're partway through. So if you haven't gotten your email yet, look for it soon. Otherwise, do check spam if you're not finding it and expect it to be there. It being an info at sort of email, it is one that's not uncommon to land in your spam folder, at least the first time. And then someone asked about the ability or using the rewards functionality to set tiered gift levels, and also using those levels to incentivize with gifts. Well, you can use it that way. Say you give $50 and you get some piece of swag from your nonprofit, a t-shirt or something. We're discouraging that because the receipting process cannot effectively reflect the total goods received and therefore the tax deductibility of your gift. And so please don't use it to call out that if you give at a certain level, you get something tangible. If you're enthusiastic about giving donors something for giving at certain levels, they should have no value. For example, if you give $50, we will say thank you to you on social media, that is welcome. But you can't give them anything that has any tangible, anything tangible that has a value. Mindy, I'm not sure if you want to say any more about that.
I can add something to that. This is Melissa, everyone, again. I know I haven't said a whole lot. But yeah, if you want to do other like intangible ones, I know some people have physical spaces that you could offer to give people a tour of your space so they can come and check out and see what you've been doing with some of the donations that people have been giving you. You can also do other intangible things like such as if like there's some that are like performing arts groups and stuff like that, you could like maybe give a shout out to them at one of your performances, whatever kind of just like little thing that you can do that, like Alex was saying, does not have a dollar value attached to it. Like you couldn't, if it's a performing arts, you couldn't give somebody free tickets because that does have a value to it. But again, like you could give a shout out to them at the beginning of a performance and be like, yeah, we would like to make this performance out to donor A, B, and C for being super helpful and donating during Give Local.
Thanks, Melissa. I've got one more question here. Will the website be live for early giving on the 29th? Indeed. Mindy, Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the idea is that for that early giving period starting on the 29th, the main Give Local site, spsgives.org, will continue to feature the countdown. So any general member of the public who finds Give Local will see that the event is starting on November 6th. So they won't have access to peruse through the different nonprofits. That said, starting on the 29th and even a few days before, your campaign will be live and you can share your campaign links directly with this VIP group that you want to reach out to. So they can access your campaign page and give to it, but they would not be able to access the overall Give Local page. Well, we are a minute before the top of the hour. If you have additional questions, go ahead and send those to Melissa. Here's another view of the upcoming trainings. Next Wednesday, we're going to be walking through this same platform training. If anyone else at your organization would like to be a part of a live training. Otherwise, you will get the recording for today. The best practices training will cover all of the suggestions of how to go about communicating your campaign, telling a story as a part of your Give Local marketing push, as well as the use of champions and stewardship. So we'll cover just all around best practices for communicating with your supporters. And then here's a few other trainings available in the weeks ahead as well. Mindy, Melissa, any parting notes for everyone?
No, I'm excited about this lineup of trainings. We have some great additional workshops, so attend them if you can. And I want to extend my gratitude to all of you for participating today and for participating in Give Local, because this thing is successful when we all promote it together. So here's to celebrating community philanthropy.
Excellent. Yes, here's to a great Give Local. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, all.